Sunken city by the ocean. You can teach the 7th grade. Do you think because you chose to, you always don't believe the way you're supposed to? I've been talking instead of the mall.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a special edition of the Indieheads podcast. I am your host, Matty, aka @MonoVanPrince. On this episode of the podcast, we have Corinne.
Hi.
We got Jackson.
Hello.
And we got Kasia.
Hi.
And special guest, Micah. Is Micah around in the room? Can you give her a little snarl to us?
She's not, but maybe she'll make a guest appearance later if we're lucky.
Yes, the wonderful girl Micah. But anyways, we are back. This is potentially the first of these planned decade podcasts for our top 10 to 11 albums of the decade. We of course put that list out back in December, and now we're finally getting to some podcasts about it, and mainly because oh shit, we're all in quarantine and we're so fucking bored. Oh my god, let's just get this done. Let's just do this. Because I've been wanting to do a podcast on Never Hungover again for quite some time, or at least a full-blown Joyce Manor podcast for quite some time, and finally we're here, and we're with the experts, of course. Corinne, Kasia, two pop punk legends. They know their stuff. And then we have Jackson, who's from Southern California.
Woo! I live in Los Angeles.
I'm both.
And I am a fake emo, as it were, who goes from Los Angeles and then adopted emohood once I moved to the Midwest for college. And so I relate deeply to Joyce Manor, who are very much an emo band, but also very much from a non-emo-y place.
Yes.
I'm just from New Jersey, so it runs in my blood to be emo. Yeah.
And I'm from Southern Illinois. There's no emo legacy here in St. Louis at all. There are emo bands, but none of them actually blew up because most of them suck. So, but
Everybody but Fox.
You can claim American football.
You have Foxing. Yeah. You're good now.
Oh yeah.
But you
I had
have your
Foxing.
entire genre. You got Midwest emo as an entire genre. So.
This is true. So
you're close enough to the source there. You can leech off it a little.
Yeah, I could probably I could drive out I could go drive out in quarantine in the American football house. Probably.
I was
Yeah, there's no
to say,
college kids there anymore.
Exactly.
You're within
Squat.
the power radius circle of the American football house, in which all emo music draws its from. Down in the basement of the house, there's a Suspiria style ritual that goes on that channels the energy.
Oh god! Again, when they talk about gaslighting, it's literal. They're using gaslights to power the American football house.
Indeed.
Oh god. Anyways,
Facebook event, but it's just summoning circle at the American football house to bring back all of our favorite emo bands.
Oh my god.
Modern baseball, please, we need you right now.
Oh god.
I need Marietta.
Yes.
Well, anyways, we're here to talk about one specific emo band in particular, Joyce Manor, and the album that is arguably their peak in terms of just kind of everything, essentially, maybe?
I think it's their most critically acclaimed album, and also probably the most popular with fans, which is not necessarily something that's always the case. I would say it's probably, if you had to grill people, it's probably their consensus best album. But I do think all of their albums, not all of their albums, for me, a lot of their albums kind of could go either way in the ways that I rank them from time to time, but I think Never Hungover Again is just the one that most Joyce Manor fans just tend to come back to the most for whatever reason. And I think we're going to try to get to the bottom of some of those reasons in this podcast here.
Yes.
I think that's a very good point, but I would also say that it just depends on what point of your life you were at when you started listening to Joyce Manor.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, it is the self-titled that really fucks me up. But I mean, the thing about Never Hungover Again is it's just so much more refined and so much more concise.
Yeah, it's the perfect middle ground between where they're at right now as a band and where they were before Never Hungover Again. It is I've always said that it's the perfect mixture of power pop and pop punk and emo. It's just this trifecta where everything is perfectly in balance, where no genre shifts a little too much. it's just everything is balanced, and it's like, okay, this is perfect music, you know, like this is when you tell someone like, hey, what is like the most perfect album ever, it's like, well, shit, it might be Never Hungover Again. It's like the three best genres combined into one package. But actually, before we get to Never Hungover Again, this episode's going to be sort of a mini Discog breakdown of sorts, where we're pretty much going to be talking about all of the Joyce Manor albums, because they do have a fairly short Discog. All their albums combined are basically like 2 albums for most bands. So
yeah, I was debating having this podcast be like a concept podcast where the whole thing is like 15 minutes and we yell the whole thing and then it's over. But I determined that wouldn't be a very listenable experience for people at home. Not like the way that Joyce Manor albums are insanely listenable. But I mean, one of my personal tweets I'm the most proud of is my Joyce Manor tweet, where it's the episode of SpongeBob where they all get superpowers and SpongeBob is like the fast one, and it's, instead of run to this mountain and back again, I made the meme where it's, hey, you want to see me listen to a Joyce Manor album? You want to see me do it again? because they are, brevity is not just like a quality that they have, it is clearly a rule that they enforce in making an album. It's like we are getting in and out, and if there is a 4-minute song, that is like a crazy experiment going on, because they are really consistent and short in their songwriting. But I also think the thing that makes this album, I think, really impressive is that like each one of these songs feels like a complete song in a very short amount of, like, it has different sections and like changes to the riff and the melody and things like that, and different like lyrical passages, and even though you feel it go by quickly, like every song does feel like satisfying in the way a full song should feel, and like they don't just feel like snippets or ideas that are like partially finished. Because a lot of times on albums where you see people try to do that, like the Tierra Whack album where like every song is 1 minute, a lot of those songs should have been just a little bit longer, like when you artificially cut it off. But like every one of these songs feels like it kind of has like almost a beginning, middle, and end to it in such a short, like rapid fire amount of time, and it's really impressive how they managed to do that on like all of these songs.
Yeah, and I mean that's the magic of Joyce Manor, is that Barry Johnson doesn't know how to write songs, that he does know how to write songs. Because I think it wasn't until Cody that someone's like, hey, like, you know, you can like write songs correctly, you can like repeat certain things and like build to a chorus, and he's like, wait, what? Yeah, I didn't know that. And that's exactly why Cody is the most cursed Joyce Manor album, because there's a 4-minute song on there.
Stairs is good.
It is a good song.
Right?
It is a good song. It is a very good song, but it's
He's very capable of writing long songs, but I don't think he should, because he's so good at making things like 2 minutes 30 seconds, perfect single length, and all of them are perfect single.
Also, that's why the self-titled and Never Hungover Again, and also of all things, I Was Soon Grow Tired. Like those, that's why those are so good in the way that they are, because there's not a single song on any of those albums that I'm like, I could do without. I feel like a lot of albums, I'm like, yeah, like this isn't my favorite song, like whatever, I can get rid of it. Like I don't have to listen to it, I can skip it. But on all of these albums, if I listen like front to back, I won't skip any of them because they're all so good. There's like, you know, do you know what I mean? Even your least favorite song on the album is still an amazingly good song because it's just so concise and
if you don't like it, it'll be over in a minute. It's like it really there is a certain thing about pop punk music where it's this balancing act where it's like it is the best genre as long as you don't fuck it up, and then it becomes the worst genre. So like it's all about like not overstaying your welcome, I think, and not like getting on people's nerves in the sort of whatever the emotional kind of bad pop punk and emo, all the things you can say, it's like whiny or whatever, or like the vocals get annoying or whatever complaints people have about the genre writ large. But like I think the brevity of the songwriting and the consistency of the track list is just, and the sequencing of the track list too. Like I think they really know how to put an album together that makes all the songs like improve upon each other, as opposed to just a lot of records where it's like you could put these in any order and it wouldn't really feel that different because it just feels like it's a sequence of songs. But on like Matty, we've talked about this, how they revealed what the almost track listing was for
God.
this album.
Where is that?
I'm gonna read it off. It's on
Matty
Joyce Manor's
can read
Twitter.
it off.
It's on Joyce Manor's Twitter. I'll read it off.
You look at it and you're just like, oh my God, like this, it could have like. I haven't listened to it in the other order, but you were saying it like it kind of fucks up the album, and it's like, so I really do think the that's what makes these albums so revisitable as albums, is like the sequencing and everything is so important. So when you put one on, you're much less fidgety, because like I also think we all have like so much shorter attention spans these days, and everyone I think is just like, you find yourself skipping songs more, or like skipping songs halfway through, or like going to find one song and then going to jump to another song. But like Joyce Manor albums are like perfect balms for millennial brain. It's just like, don't worry, every song's gonna be really short, and you put it on and you like all the songs and they all make you happy or sad or both.
But yeah, the cursed track list in question, the album was originally called In the Army Now, and that was the intro track, was In the Army Now, which is one of my favorite Joyce Manor songs, and probably my favorite on the album. But the fact that it starts off the album, it puts it in a darker place. Like, it would have made this a much darker record just by that alone being sort of the tone setter. And it goes into Schlee, Victoria, Catalina fight song like that early is like, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah. No, thank you.
Chaotic.
The album ends with Christmas Card. That's especially fucked up.
Right.
Like, that just does not work as an outro.
I mean, most intros often can be flipped to the end, just because it's like, it kind of it stands out from the rest of the track list in its own way. I think just because it's so burned into our brain as like Never Hungover Again on, Christmas Card on, like, we're so used to it, it just feels wrong to us. But I think it like that could have been a closer in an alternate universe, but it shouldn't have been. I agree. Definitely makes most sense at the start of the album.
Basically,
yeah, and
we
Catalina
have to
fight
think...
song where it is, it's like, it feels like a punch in the face right after you've already like been shot.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That is true.
But so thank you so much to Brett Gurwitz for telling them to fix the fucking track listing, because
shout out to Brett, my former boss.
Oh yeah, because you interned at Epitaph.
I did intern for Epitaph. He's a really nice guy, like cool dude.
Because you basically kind of gave me the insider info that like Remo Drive were gonna sign to them.
I was there in the office the day that Remo Drive toured Epitaph Records, and then they never released an album again. Oh well.
Hey,
bummer.
stop being mean. Stop being mean.
Okay, I won't
stop
be mean.
being mean. I like that record. I like the record.
I do too. You know, I only kid because it hurts me that I still have to listen to greatest hits all the time to get my Remo Drive fix. But that's just how I feel about that particular.
That's your opinion.
That's my opinion.
But before we dive into Never Hungover Again a little bit, let's go through those first two records and then sort of the Lucy's before that. Kasia, I think you are probably the person here who became a fan of Joyce Manor first. I want to just guess from sort of the timeline and the place in your life you were at when you got into
Joyce. You mean high school and wanting to die all the time?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, exactly. Freshman year was rough.
Yeah.
So what is your story with Joyce Manor? How did you get into them?
Well, I started high school that year that the self-titled came out in 2011. So I think it was either that year or the next year that I first heard them, and I was like, oh fuck, like this is gonna change my life for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like I still regularly listen to self-titled, at least on a weekly basis, because it's just such a I keep using the word concise, but it really, like, I think that's the thing that sums them up as a band, is just there's no loose ends. You just feel comfortable in that very specific 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Yeah, so basically just self-titled got me fucked up when I was like 16, and I was like, all right, like this is it. I'm emo forever. There's no turning back now.
Defend pop punk.
Right. Yes, I did defend pop punk in high school.
and we thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I took a lot of hits with that one, so.
See, I might have been one of the latest comers to Joyce Manor, because
I'm latest for sure. I'm
okay,
like significantly later than you, so you're
true.
not.
Because I was more of an on and off fan of Joyce Manor, because it's like let's see, I got tickets to a show of theirs in Chicago. It was a tour where they had culture abuse and my landlord waves opening for them. Which that's such a weird tour. That's such a weird tour.
That is a weird combination. Like, it's kind of a cursed energy.
And it's also just a weird thing to realize that all of us have listened to Waves at some point, and we were like, nothing can go wrong. And then he was like, I'm raising
Everything
the
can
rent.
go wrong.
This is very true.
But basically, a girl that I was talking to was really into Joyce Manor, and I got tickets to their show, so I took her to the show. I had a good time at the show. But I'd only listened to like Cody and like a little bit of Never Hungover Again on the way there, so like I was not familiar like at all. I think I was only familiar with like Cody because that was the only one I had really listened to at that point. And then for some reason I just kind of put off listening to them for a while, and then I randomly put on Never Hungover Again last year around this time, like maybe back in like February 2019, and very quickly was like, oh, this is like one of the best albums ever made, huh? And here we are now.
Wait, real quick, I just thought of a Waves joke. Green eyes, I'll raise your rent on you.
Oh.
See, see that joke would be funny, but no one remembers how any Waves song goes. So
Yeah,
oh, my
that's the
mistake.
problem with this joke.
But yeah, I was a late comer, and then eventually, again, I would basically since then I've had a Joyce Manor phase like every month, pretty much, where I will just listen to Joyce Manor for a week, maybe more, and then I'll go back to normal, and then go back to Joyce Manor mode. And of course,
Yeah, because you
very
message
recently,
us every time.
Yes,
You're
exactly.
like, hey guys, when are we doing this fucking podcast?
You activate Joyce Manor mode.
I shift into Joyce Manor mode.
They are one of those bands, though, that it's real easy to get into phases with them, partly because of that length. Like, it benefits them because, like, anytime you go back to Never Hungover Again, you can immediately, like we were joking about, like, crank out their entire discography in like an afternoon. And so it's real easy to like get yourself back in a headspace where they're like one of, if not the only real bands that you're listening to at that given time, because you can just so quickly get yourself back immersed in that particular headspace. And all of their albums like so consistently provide you with whatever particular flavor of Joyce Manor you're looking for at that moment.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, really, the big thing, I guess, with Joyce Manor, I mean, yeah, the length of these albums, they're so short, but they're so concise. But I guess we'll talk about Self-Titled briefly, because Self-Titled, of course, like a sort of a culmination because they've been blowing up in the local scene, and then I think the album leaked like at least 2 or 3 months early, and that's what really blew them up because like all these like pop punk fans were like finding this album being like, holy shit, this is amazing. And
yeah, I remember
it's a
being
very
like
good album.
14 and listening to all of this, and like I was like exploding inside because it was all just perfect.
Mm-hmm. But God, and then of course Self-Titled blows up, and Barry Johnson has a bit of a personal crisis, and then we get Of All Things I Will Soon Grow Tired out of it, which I said it on the last podcast, and I don't know if I can stand by it. I'm still very much like, it's still such a take that I have to get it out there just to see how it feels when I say it. But like I'm really starting to think that I think Of All Things I Will Soon Grow Tired is the best Joyce Manor album. It's getting to that point where it's like I've listened to it so much the past like 3 months that it really is just like so perfectly sequenced and has so many interesting swings and moods and directions that they haven't really gone in since. You know, obviously, like, it's the last time that Joyce Manor got like really, really heavy. Like, there's some song, obviously, like Never Hungover Again has a couple heavy songs, but they don't quite hit the same of like If I Needed You There. Like, that song fucking hits.
Right.
And then sort of the weird electronic stuff, like See How Tame I Can Be. They've never put out anything like that since, and that's like my favorite song on the album. And of course it has one of the greatest covers of all time,
No!
the Video Killed the Radio Star cover, which is
Yes.
I was gonna say that's the thing I cannot like reconcile with that album. It's like I respect what they did there, but I just cannot listen to it and
It's
think
so
not
good,
think
though.
of the original.
Open Your
It's-
Fucking Heart. It's so good.
Ugh. And I love them. I do love that album, but well, the EP, but it's just like every time it comes on, I'm like, all right, thanks, and skip right through it.
Of All Things is the greatest 13 minutes of my life. That's all I'm saying.
It is truly one of the very great like albums that is, I would say, is technically feels more like an album, even though it is shorter than many EPs are. Like it is so short, but you listen to it and you're like, that's an album. Like
Yeah.
It is an
it
album.
feels like one.
It
Yeah.
feels like one, and of course, like the no-fi microphones type shit. I'm always tired. It almost made me cry the other day. It's really good. But this podcast isn't about those two albums as much as we love those albums. It's about Never Hungover Again, which is the best Joyce Manor album to me, at least. It is the when we talk about the definitive Joyce Manor album, this is the definitive Joyce Manor album.
Yes, that's the correct take.
This
I
is
think.
this is the middle ground of everything before and since, and of course, as we have stated, it has perfect track listing because Christmas Card is one of the greatest intro songs of all time. Like, what a fucking mood setter there, you know?
Hmm.
Like,
I want to say, like, this album, just from the start, it's kind of possibly the most concise version of yearning that there is.
oh yeah, this is such a yearning album. It's oh baby.
He just fucking throws you in, and he's just like, all right, have fun. Like, you might call your ex tonight. I don't know, but
Look
The
around,
very
fall in love.
looking at your face in the dark, you don't even look that smart is just like he has all of these lyrics I think of throughout the album that are like feel like things that real people would say in sort of awkward ways. Like his lyric often when you like hear people kind of like talking about things they would like say to other people or whatever in songs like this, it feels very kind of like you're artistically rendering it, like this is not kind of how you're talking to the person in the moment, but he says all kinds of things in this album that are like so awkward but like hit you in the gut emotionally because of that, because they feel real. Like when he says on I'm thinking specifically of the line where he says like I got some money that we could spend, not that you like that. Like it's just like such a relatable like an awkward, like you say something and you realize how it means and you're like, oh wait, no, I don't mean it like that. Like it's like putting that kind of like uncomfortability emotionally like into the songs and having it be so like catchy and like hit you so emotionally, and it really is effective. I think he's such a lyricist where like maybe the lyrics aren't really the thing that like jumps out to you when you first start getting into this album. Like it's more about like the music and all the different kind of the riffs and stuff like that, but they really do like hit you in the gut, some of these, right when you hear them like the first time. Like oh, it's real good.
yeah. Oh god, the thing that's so funny about like the genesis of this album is that like so in my various research I did the last month or so, not really prepping for this podcast, but just like getting really obsessed with Joyce Manor and trying to find out every little thing about them that I could. The thing that like the genesis of this album basically being like Chase started dating Chase, who is the guitarist in the band. He started dating a girl in Santa Cruz, and like while she would go to class, he would just like smoke weed in her dorm and play guitar, and he got really good at guitar doing that. And so when he came back, Chase is like, yeah, I'm good at guitar now, and Barry's like, well, I got some songs, and then boom, here we are. Like one of the greatest albums ever made.
That is really wonderful.
It's such a Southern California thing. It's just like, yeah,
Oh
I just
yeah.
like started smoking weed, and then I just got good at guitar, you know.
Yeah.
I think so.
wish that were me.
Oh god. Last night I was trying to put together like a bunch of Joyce Manor Barry Johnson facts. So I only got to 2 before my Benadryl hit, and I was like, no, I'm gonna just put my laptop up, I'm gonna go to bed. When Barry Johnson was 19 years old, he got in a car accident on the way to his new job at a bookstore doing inventory, and so this is like a little bit before 5 a.m. He's trying to get something from like the shotgun seat of his car, and he hits a curb and then swerves, and he described the event as basically I did a kickflip in my car.
I love that you refer to it as the shotgun seat and not the passenger seat.
I'm just saying that's what he said. That's what he said.
Okay.
He said from the shotgun, which is like
I love that.
amazing. Barry Johnson. I mean, here's the thing. He is on this album, like he's one of the greatest like writers of his generation in terms of music, just by the fact that his songwriting is really, really unique and special and incredible. and really like it's able to this brevity is the soul of wit or whatever the fuck. What is that? You know the thing.
Isn't that Oscar Wilde?
You know the thing. But that's what makes Barry Johnson so good. Is he's
it's
so
Hamlet. My mistake.
Yeah, you know the thing. But the thing with Barry Johnson is that on this album, and really of everything you find out about Barry Johnson, you go, wow, this dude's like a real himbo, huh? He's a real himbo, and it's why we love Barry. That's why we love him.
It is why we love him. It's true.
But yeah, Christmas Card. What a fucking incredible intro. Just so many like lyrics that just like hit you you go, oh, ow, that hurt, ow. Stop, Barry, stop. And that's just the rest of the album. The rest of the album is just being like, ow, stop that, Barry. And he just keeps going. He just keeps going in.
You think about it way too hard. I'm going to stay with you until you disappear into the crowd. I don't know what you tried to tell me. That's literally probably the most fucked up series of lyrics. Just like literally stabs you in the chest like, oh yes, I've been there. I have been that person. And it's just really difficult because it's just like, okay, I know what I'm in for the rest of this album. Like it's not going to be easy at all.
We think about it still.
Exactly.
Like, ooh. But Christmas Card, of course, like the thing, obviously, like right off the bat, there's a big step up in production from the last record. It's very clear. Like, obviously, they had the Epitaph money. It's like there's a huge step up in production, but it doesn't take away. It's not like maybe the most recent Joyce Manor records, where maybe like, the edges have been sort of smoothed out a little bit. It's like the edges are still rough, but the shine, there's more of a shine here. It's the album. It's a bit of an uncut gem, a little bit. You stare into the black opal and you see the entire universe in front of you, and it looks a lot like Southern California.
You really cannot resist.
You
making
really
an
resist.
Uncut Gems reference, can you?
No,
I know, I could.
No, how could he not?
How could you not?
To be
How
fair.
could you not?
Honestly, Torrance, California is very much an uncut gem. I believe in it. Barry Johnson said it sucks. It does not.
Torrance kind of sucks.
I'm very
Torrance is alright.
I'm very
He's
proud
a
of
weird
him.
green tower, and it's fine.
I'm very proud of him for making a career with a name like Barry Johnson, aka just like a Motown executive.
It's very nondescript. It feels like almost like a you've been relocated, witness protection. Barry Johnson.
God. The thing, oh God. So we talked about him being a himbo. I'm just going to bring it up again real quick. The fact that he got like a really bad tattoo, and instead of just like getting like a different tattoo to cover it up, he just like blacked out his entire arm.
Yeah, that's what it is.
He blacked out his entire arm. Like, that's just what he does.
Going back to your himbo comment, like you were being silly, but it's also like I think there is something very like achingly sincere and also kind of unpretentious and not trying, like he doesn't feel like he's trying to be like, oh man, I'm really writing a killer lyric here. Like there isn't a sense of like, I don't know. I feel like all of his lyrics feel like just completely honest expressions of just like emotion and sentiment, and like things like getting into the next song. Like one of my favorite lyrics on this whole album, even though it's like so straightforward, and something that has been stuck in my head for this entire time I've been self-quarantined for whatever reason, is the on Falling in Love Again, I think you're funny, I like your friends, I like the way they treat. It's just like such a nice sentiment. It's just like I like you, and I like the way that like other people treat you, and like it makes me like, and I like that you have friends that like treat you well or whatever, and just like it's so sweet. It's just I can't take it. But then he also like kind of screws it up by saying something awkward like immediately after that. Not that you're like that line. It's just like it's so perfect.
Yeah, like to go off of that, just like
my favorite song on the album, by the way, #1 favorite for sure.
This whole album, it feels like a first date. You know, like the whole just like weird, like awkward, like I like you, but I'm gonna say something dumb right afterwards. And like honestly, I did listen to this on a first date once. It went really well. I'm still dating that person after like 2 years, but you know, it I don't know, just like the whole album is like so sweet, and You know,
I
like
totally get that.
you keep listening to it and you keep falling in love again. So
It really, yeah, it's like the highs and the lows and the like everything about the experience of entering a new romantic something, and it's just like it's so exciting, but also like your stomach is dropping out because it's like there's scariness and there's awkwardness and all of the stuff, and I think this album captures that full gambit of emotions in a very short amount of time, and it's really good. And I think this song, "Falling in Love Again," has like probably my favorite like riffs and like instrumental stuff on it of the whole album. It's just so I love the way that the guitars change from the first verse to the chorus, and like the kind of sort of shoegazy feel to them on this
yeah,
song.
like
It's
the
very,
tremolo riffs towards the very last verse. Oh,
real good stuff. Love it. Mwah.
There's something about all the songs too. It is like literally just falling in love, but at the same time, it's like this in and out. Like, have you ever had something with someone where it's like there's always something going on, and you feel like you're always falling back into it regardless of where you're at? Do you know what I'm talking about? That back and
Oh
This-
no, I would never do something like that. No.
There's
What the hell
something
is that?
about this album that just feels like it sums everything up about that experience. That like I don't know, I kind of hate you most of the time. like I see you and like you don't even look that smart. Like I don't know, it's like the past is difficult to reconcile, and then at the same time like you have a really amazing night and you're like, "Oh fuck, like what's happening here?" That's just like the whole album feels like it takes that and just compacts it into like this little box.
It's like chasing the highs of like, oh, it like felt really good this one night, and like maybe it can be like that, but why isn't it like that when these other times, and like the frustration of that, and like the frustration of feeling like there could be this amazing thing, but but like I also don't feel like this makes any sense other times, and it just it really does capture experiences that don't first what me who definitely not relating to things on here, not me.
Never be me.
No.
Never be me.
We cannot be genuine on Maine.
Do not know her.
Oh, okay. So not to like move briskly through the like the next song on the record, but I'm looking through the Genius annotations of end of the Summer, which is also a song that like it's maybe my least favorite on the album, but only because like okay, yeah, no, it hits too hard. Like it hits a little too hard here, you know. Having had like a late summer fling before I went to school, like
the song bio just being all caps is what captures that feeling the most.
But of course, there's this sort of the lyric. Like the thing with Barry, he has like these like weird sort of lyrical moments on this record that like are just kind of bizarre. Like no one else could write something like that. Of like you know, you could sort of blue marker on a paper bag. You could wear it like a mask. You could be your own dad. Like who comes up with that shit? Barry Johnson does. And then the annotation is that a member of the audience questioned Barry about this line at the Fat Music Hall in Providence, Rhode Island. His response was, "It's called poetry, bro."
Honestly,
Big himbo energy.
if I'm asked to explain literally anything about anything I write, it's like, maybe you're just not thinking hard enough. Thanks.
It's called poetry, bro.
I mean, most of my favorite lyricists of all time, I include Tom York in the discussion. Most of my enjoyment of their lyrics is, I don't know what this means, but it's provocative. It gets the people going. It's very much the same way with a lot of Joyce Manor lyrics. There's like some that are like these achingly accurate like lines that feel like this is something out of something right directly that I've said to someone, and like hits too close to home. And then there are other lines in this album, like you could wear it like a mask, you could be your own dad, where it's like that line hits me like a sledgehammer in the same way, even though I don't know, I couldn't explain to another human being what that means. But it's like there's something about music where if you say it the right way and you write the right notes for the song underneath it. You can just communicate a sentiment through like Tom York always talks about how he like doesn't want to hit the nail on the head too directly, and he's always trying to like say it like without saying it. And I think that there's a lot of lines on this album that are just like, how the hell does he come up with that, and why does it effectively communicate that emotion even though it makes no sense on a piece of paper?
Mm-hmm. I think that's really the thing that is so great about this album, and really a lot of the Joyce Manor discography, is that compared to like some of their contemporaries, it was the fact that they were less direct in their writing sometimes, where it's like that sort of that Radiohead Tom York approach of, let's not hit the nail on the head too hard here, like let's leave some blanks here for the listeners to kind of fill in. And that's what makes this album so addictive and so like relatable to a lot of people, is that Barry realizes that like some of his experiences have been universal. It's just a matter of fact of how to present those universal feelings and those universal emotions out there without being too obvious.
Yeah, because like so many emo bands or whatever that are trying to do the same sort of like, I'm going to take my human experiences and show people how they're all relatable, it just turns into a guy whining about his ex-girlfriend. And the fact that these songs are that but don't ever feel like that's what you're listening to, and you're able to get yourself into them and connect with them and project your own experiences onto them, is the difference between a good writer and a bad writer. Like that's what Barry Johnson I think really brings to this album, is his ability to like talk about these emotionally complicated experiences where sometimes he's like not being a super like great person in them, or like the feeling of trying to do your best but like making shitty mistakes in relationships and stuff like that, but never feeling like it's just like some annoying guy complaining about a girl not liking him or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of emo music, it's just like, the human experience. Yeah, but I really don't think that Barry Johnson, like the way that how all of the songs are written, it's not really complaining as it is like how Free Throw writes their songs, honestly. But it's just kind of like saying like, this is what happened, it sucks, I'm gonna get over it, maybe.
Well, I think the problem is a lot of emo falls into the please pity me category, and I love please pity me music. I'm like, oh god, me too, I'm a martyr as well. But I feel like they take special measures with Joyce Manor. Like it's just like, okay, yes, this is how I feel, but like I'm not really too hung up over it, and it's okay. But like I'm just gonna make a song out of it. There's like a fine line you straddle between making people pity you and also just expressing your emotions without it feeling too like, oh, I'm so put upon, etc.
Yeah.
A non-manipulative emo record.
Right.
Yes. It's like you can listen to Joyce Manor and be like, yeah, no, this guy doesn't hate women. You can. Yeah,
they said they listened to Taking Back Sunday and we're like, let's not do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
No, I love them, but have you ever just gone back and like listened to the music critically and been like, oh, this guy like wants to kill his ex-girlfriend?
Yeah.
But it still bangs though. It still fucking bangs, but
I like the closest they've gotten to that is like sort of I think like maybe being like, I never loved you, or something like that's the closest they've gotten. Or like something on the later albums, like girls can be kind of controlling, but it's like and he's like, well, I want to be controlled, that's what I like. It's like, okay, you saved yourself a little bit there. You saved yourself a little bit.
Women's rights.
You said I'm a sub, baby, sub rights.
Oh god, simp rights.
Oh god. But yeah, End of the Summer is also a song. Like I said, it's maybe my least favorite, but it's still like a great song. But it just like it hits a little too close to home, and it's like, okay, Barry, you're digging a little too into my conscience there. You need to back off a little bit, buddy. Take 5 here, okay? Take 5. But instead of taking 5, it goes straight into Victoria, which is such a fun song.
God, low key best song on the album.
It's super
Speaking
fun.
of simp rights, Victoria. Great. I really do love my favorite lyric on this is like definitely the second verse. Had such a hard time saying no, locked myself out and had to climb over the back wall and scrape my arm. It bled a little, but I'm fine. It's just like, yeah, baby, good stuff. Love very very surface level metaphors that also hit like a freight train.
Simp rights, baby.
God, I mean, Victoria is great because like half the song is dedicated to like Barry Johnson not being able to get into his house, sort of the adventure of that. I'm just like, oh crap, I'm locked out of my house. Let me put up let me try to take off this screen door. Oh shit, I got cut. I bled a little bit, but it's fine. And then just being like, and then just sitting in your house with a busted screen door, just being really sad about a bad
just trying to make a bad situation a little better.
Yeah, I think it's sort of a nice way where it's kind of conflating these two situations he's in his life, where he's kind of due to some level of his own decisions in a precarious situation where he's scraping his arm and fucking up his door and all this stuff, and he's also like, Victoria, you got me hanging on again, like oh fuck, I've got myself into another romantic pickle where I'm dealing with someone that's leaving me hanging on, and it's like I'm partly here because of my own stupidity and bad choices, but also I feel bad about it because I'm not having a good time. And I think this song like perfectly like kind of conflates those two experiences.
I wouldn't even say kinda. Like, you kept saying kinda, and I'm like, no, that's exactly right.
No, yeah,
like
this
you
entire
hit the nail
song.
on the head there.
I'm straight up having a bad time. He says it in the first line.
God. Oh god.
The guilt of like going and doing something and like saying like, oh yeah, like fuck it, I'm just gonna vibe right now, and then you get home and you're like, that was possibly the worst thing I've ever done, but I don't know what to do now. It's just, I don't know.
Fuck it, we ball.
One of the best songs on the album.
I think one of the most like in like actually reading the lyrics a bit more for this, like I think the line, won't be the one who walks away. That's a line that kind of hits a little bit of just being like, oh well, I'm not the one who's in control here. Like it's like yeah, like I'm not gonna be the one that breaks up with her. Like she's gonna be the one that like does it to me, and it's like, well, that's just how it is. Victoria, she's got me hanging on again. That's just how it be. But I think this is really the part on the album where it really the album is already it's already in overdrive off the bat, but it really kicks into overdrive here of just oh shit, he's just throwing out heaters here. It's like Victoria, you got Shlee after this, and then you got fucking
Shlee is so good.
You got Heart Tattoo, you got The Jerk, you got In the Army Now. You're like, holy shit, this is such an incredible run of songs, and it doesn't stop there. But Shlee, I've said for a long time that In the Army Now is probably my favorite song on the record, but it might be Shlee now. I think it might be this one.
Shlee
what were the singles? Shlee and what was the other single?
I think the singles were Catalina Fight Song, and The Jerk. I think were the two singles.
Was it not Shlee? Oh.
Shlee, I think Shlee. Oh yeah, Shlee was a single. I think. Let me double check. Let me check the Wikipedia.
I be looking.
So wait, I'm not on Genius because I'm an AZ lyrics user. So is Shlee? I've never looked into this. Is Shlee just like a nickname for Ashley? Because
no, it's a street name.
I didn't know this was about weed until I read the Genius now.
I'll read the description. It's a song about getting high and then getting paranoid and then thinking about everything too much. Shlee is a street name in an industrial part of Wilmington, California. Real bleak stuff.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay, I never really looked into this one too much.
Wilmington is not a fun place. Yeah, definitely evokes what he's trying to get after in the lyrics of the
saddest, most paranoid part of town.
Yes.
Thank God for our two West Coast presences, because my East Coast ass would not have understood at all.
Yes.
Hollywood and Vine, don't know her.
There is something very particular to Joyce Manor where it's like, unlike most other emo bands where you feel like they're definitely drinking all the time as their main vice, Joyce Manor is the epitome of like I get stoned a lot and way overthink decisions I've made in my life and get anxious because I'm smoking too much weed. It's just like such a Southern California mood in that regard, and probably why I'm able to connect with this album. Perhaps, I don't know. And yeah, just that's so watch out, you're in danger line is just like from the moment that is just like, oh.
And
boy,
I think one thing about this record is that I mean the bass playing is like holy fucking shit incredible on this record. Like
that is good.
Like this one, like this, like Shlee and Heart Tattoo, like some of the greatest bass lines of the last decade. You know, like where sort of you have on this song, like you have the bass and the drums going crazy and sort of like a slightly distorted like feedback on the guitar, and it's like really sets in this feeling of paranoia. You know, it's like where are my rock and roll music with guitars? What's going on here? And you know what's going on here? It's like, oh shit, I might get killed on the street. Like I might be in danger, but I don't care. You know?
Yeah, the line you never know it, but you know that it's possible is just like, it's just sort of this thing that is the kind of thing that I'll have when I'm like high and like walking on the street, where it's just like there is a certain kind of unknowability about being out in the world, and when you're stoned or whatever, you can be like, something real bad could just happen to me, and like that's just the way that the world works. And that when you get to a certain point in your like adolescent development where you just realize that like the kind of safety you feel as a teenager is just sort of, and the invincibility that you feel kind of fades away, and how scary that is. And I think that line really evokes that.
Mm-hmm. It's sort of this. I mean, this really is an album about sort of not necessarily exiting your 20s, but entering like that second era of your 20s, where it's like going from like sort of like, oh, I'm young, I'm invincible, to like starting to like where the effects of your misdeeds are starting to like really set in, you know.
Yeah, where like the unhealthy habits that you started to develop in like high school and like early college are like starting to catch up with you, and you're becoming a less functional person. And I'm purely speculating here. I imagine this is what it's like for people in their early 20s, I assume. No personal experience.
Mm-hmm. And then, like I said, and of course the line of, you know, like old friends who never ask, how can you be happy when you wear all black and they care?
And they care.
Because they wanna. It's like, like it's one of those lines that it's like, okay, fuck it, I'm a Tumblr girl now, like fuck it, this hits.
Like, Matty, you'll never understand what it's like to be
You will never understand.
This is
the expectations we have to live up to.
Stolen valor, Matty. Come on. Can't.
Sorry, I know.
Although I do very much relate to that, as many people have told me that you wear a lot of black. So yeah, relatable.
Yeah.
Be like that.
And like we again, Barry Johnson, like I said, has a very unique way of writing. Of like, it feels weird, like a really weird movie.
Oh, nice.
I appreciate the fact that he just didn't find, like, he didn't use a thesaurus to find another like synonym for weird. He's just like, it feels weird, like a really weird movie. But but it's what makes this album so good, is that it feels like it's very honest and real. It's like he's not trying to like put a filter too much on his writing. It's just like, oh no, this is real thoughts you have. Like you're having a conversation. It's like, yeah, it's like a really weird, like it's like a really weird movie, you know? Like it feels very conversational in a way. And it's what makes this album to hit so much.
Not to mark the bingo sheets, but it does kind of. I'm seriously paining myself to say this because I hate that I do this literally every podcast, but it's kind of like Mark Kozelek, where the thing about Mark Kozelek lyrics is that because so many of them are so mundane, that when one of those like mundane, real feeling lyrics like hits you really hard in your emotions, it hits differently because it has that realness to it. And it's the same sort of thing where like when there's a lyric on this album that is like really like, oh my god, like that fucks me up, like I can't believe how he's articulated that so well, it hits harder because it doesn't feel like when you're listening to like one of the really, really great songwriters where it's just like, I can't even imagine how you came up with that. But then all the really best lyrics on this album are like, it's like it hits so hard partly because you're like, I can't believe I haven't had this thought specifically in those words before, because it feels so like like real and tangible in that way.
Mm-hmm. But speaking of real and tangible, Heart Tattoo, which again starts off with the fucking killer bass line from Matt Ebert, the cover star of Never Hungover Again, with Francis Quinlan, which again, one of the most iconic album covers.
I always forget that that's Francis Quinlan. It's what a piece of music history right there.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember the exact quote about the album cover, but like in a way, he was basically like, like all these, sort of pop punk album covers, like, it's like, oh, it wants to feel like dangerous or something, but it's like, it's the complete opposite. It's just like, oh yeah, here's like two friends having a really good time. It's not dangerous at all. It's just, it's warm and it's welcoming. It's like, hey, we're having a party here. Come on in. And
exactly,
yeah.
it looks like two people in a car listening to Never Hungover Again is what it looks like, and it's perfect for that reason.
Mm-hmm. But Heart Tattoo, this might actually be my least favorite song on the album, but it's only because this is like the one that I've heard the most before I actually heard the entire record, because it was one of the only Joyce Manor songs that was on my radio station, and it was really short, which was convenient for like, okay, I need to start this at like 3:00 exactly, so let me just throw this on. It's only like, it's less than 2 minutes. Perfect. So, but also it's the one that just kind of hits the least in a way, just because it is like the most like, it's the most generic.
Superficial. Yeah.
It's a little. I mean, I don't know if I would say superficial, but it's definitely one that is a bit shocking that was never a single, because it's the song on the album that screams single. Like, yeah,
I should have meant like it's not that it's not deep. It's just like, it's like, here's what it is. We're not looking too deep into it. It's just, that's what I want, and moving forward. Like, I just don't think it's like very quick to be understood.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it's not. I feel like the word superficial, we always consider it to be like, oh, it's not good. It's fake, which I don't think is necessarily true. I just don't think it's an extremely deep song, if that makes sense. It's something you can listen to and be like, yeah, true, and then move on.
And I think it's also like very sort of singularly focused, where like so many of the other songs on this album is like there's 5 sections. You could call one a verse and a chorus and a bridge and whatever, but they're just sort of whatever. And this song, even though it doesn't have like too much like conventional repetition to it, it's the most kind of traditional in its songwriting, where you could imagine a band that's not Joyce Manor. The band that's not Joyce Manor wouldn't write it this specific way, but you could imagine what the other version of this song sounds like, it's harder to do with basically every other song on this album. And I also think it's just like so singularly focused on the one specific image and idea, and there's not any real work to try to turn it into some kind of metaphor particularly. Although I do like the very, very opening lyric of just, I want a heart tattoo, I want it to hurt really bad, I think is just like a clever thing. But then that kind of cleverness is like the most enjoyment I really get out of it. Beyond that, it's just kind of like, oh, I get it.
It's the most repetitive song on the record. It sort of has this motif, and it kind of sticks with it. It doesn't really sway too much from it, and that is what kind of makes it the weakest song on the record. It's still a great song, but it's definitely the one that hits the least, just because it's like, okay, I get it. You want a heart tattoo, you want it to hurt really bad. Like, I see the metaphor here. Like, all right, so. And it's also like one of the longest songs on the record. At actually no, I think it's more of in the mid length, because it's only 150, so it's not one of the longest. But still,
151, Matthew. Please,
yeah.
If you're gonna be a journalist, let's be honest.
And the thing about Joyce Manor album songs is that every second counts. Like the difference between a 207 song and a 228 song is like just dramatically different worlds. Joyce Manor.
30 seconds of heartbreak.
Yes. So I mean, there's not much to say about Heart 2. It's a good song. It is a nice little center point for the record, but it leads us into The Jerk, which I think is it's a song that took a while for it to kind of fully come around to me. But like, I mean, it's like, I've always liked it, but it's like more recently been like, okay, this is starting to hit on more and more listens, and it kind of has that sort of the same motif of like Christmas Card, of like sort of like trying to be a jerk to break things off, but realizing that like you're not very good at it. Of like,
yeah, it's a very relatable human thing where it's like off like I have to be the asshole in the situation, and I'm like not at all comfortable in that mode or whatever. Like, there's a lot of real good lyrics on this one for sure.
Yeah, and the way they wrote it, like musically, it sounds like someone's yelling at you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah, I
yeah,
get
like
what
it
you're
just shows
saying.
like a punch in the face. It's just like I'm coming into the room, I'm confronting you, and I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Just like,
Yeah.
okay, like, well, like I want to try to save this, like, anything could ever come between the two of us. I would say the same thing. It's like, hey, this can work. Let's try to, let's work it out. I don't really get I like, for some reason mentions the Steve Martin movie. It's like, all right, he's got some deep cuts somewhat. He's a fan of '70s comedies, Mr.
Okay.
Barry Johnson. But yeah, I mean, it's still one of the songs that I still have a hard time kind of deciphering a little bit. Like it's one of those things of like I don't need to decipher it because I listen to it and I feel something. It's like, okay, I'm not gonna try to dig too much into this. I'm just gonna kind of let it hit me. Let's just let it hit and we'll see what goes from there. Or I want to see what's going on, but I don't want to do that at all with the song. But I mean, it is one of the best. I think from a musical standpoint, it's definitely one of the best songs on the record for sure. Of just like it just kicks your ass straight away. Like great guitar stuff. Like, baby, it's so good, so good. But I mean, does anyone? I don't have much to say. Can someone tell me what 8-ball juice is? Can you tell me what that is, Jackson or
I do
Corinne?
not know what 8-ball juice is. You
It-
lost there.
8-ball juice? I don't know. It feels like it could be on the same kind of thing as like jungle juice.
Should
I
I
don't
Urban
know.
Dictionary this shit right now?
Definitely.
I
I
think
mean,
like
we are
that,
dealing with pop punk music. That's how we should answer
Don't
this.
mind my gamer keyboard noises in the
We gotta
background.
go.
Oh,
I mean, actually, this entire like bar is like a really weird set of lyrics I don't understand. Like in the place
There's
with
a
cakes and 8-ball juice.
food.com. There's a food.com recipe for 8-balls, which is Bacardi light rum, Grand Marnier, tequila, pineapple juice, lime juice, and sugar syrup.
oh,
I don't know if
fancy
that's
jungle
really-
juice.
That's really complicated. I didn't know Barry Johnson was a man of taste.
And then the next thing that pops up is a Reddit question that says, if you were to drink the liquid in a magic 8-ball, would you die? So I don't know. Take from that what you will.
That's definitely what Barry Johnson was talking about.
Also, again, with some farmyard friends. What? Barry,
I don't
you
know.
live in.
People
I
have
don't.
chickens in their backyards.
Okay, no. You don't understand. If you grow up, okay, I don't know. He probably didn't grow up. I don't know how California is, but like in New Jersey, I heard farmyard friends, and I was like, so true. Like we're all just fucking hanging out on a farm in the middle of nowhere. Like that's what you do when you're 18 and you can't drink yet, and you're gonna have a party. I don't know. It's a different meaning, I think, for me, but that doesn't necessarily mean what he's trying to put across. So whatever.
It
Yeah,
is-
there are not farms in Torrance, really.
You never
Yeah,
know.
it's poetry,
know.
bro.
God.
True.
Yeah.
That's I guess that's what it's all about.
it's poetry,
Connecting
bro.
to different people.
But one song that like where the metaphor is like, okay, I understand the metaphor at play here. It works. And yeah, I'm gonna keep saying this. Like, well, actually, no. This is my favorite song on the record.
It is.
In the
This
Army
is-
Now is my favorite song on the record. This is, and it. But again, I think it's gone down like a little bit, just for the fact that it was supposed to start the record initially. Like that is like, no, I can't. No, this is a total deep cut. This is not an intro song.
This
a
is
deep cut.
this is like the platonic ideal of like an 8th or 9th song on a 10-song album, where it's like sort of the darkest song on the album, and like you're saying, I really do love this song lyrically, and it's not I'm not as big on it like musically as you are, as it being one of my favorite like songs on the album, but I really do like what he does on this song, particularly lyrically. It's probably one of my favorites on the album.
Mhm. Like there's just so
I
much.
mean, it's
great-
very opaque. It's very
Yeah.
obtuse.
It's a lot of great imagery at play here. Like sort of like, where were you when you felt left out? It's all shit for families, anyways. It's like, fuck. Like, oh god, like, and then like, you know, furniture store, shards of glass, I want to kiss you through your hockey mask. Like, ah. It hits, and then just sort of like it's the album's most depressing song, of like, this is very bleak and like I don't know what's going on here, Barry, but I feel you, man. I'm here to give you a hug, you know, like.
Especially the last line, "I always knew you'd join the army," is just one of the funniest, like oof, like that feeling of just like, not even particularly with like even like joining the army particularly, although that's definitely like very funny, but also just like that kind of feeling of like seeing someone from your past and being like, oh, like, of course this is how your life is or whatever, like of course this is what's happened to you, and now there's like this distance between us because of course you were always going to go this way and I'm not, and like oof. Definitely one of the songs, bro, even though it's more specific than a lot of stuff on the album, it is also better at being able to serve as a metaphor for lots of different kinds of like emotional experiences. I think like there's a lot of different ways you can read this song.
But I mean, yeah, the guitar work is incredible. I mean, it helps that the song, like the foundation of the song, like, well, obviously lyrically it fucking destroys me, but like really, so like song wise, it really hits all those points of like, we have 2.5 minutes yet, we're gonna fill in like all these like motifs, and like the song goes into like many different places throughout this thing. Like obviously has a great killer opening riff, and then sort of has that sort of like bridge section where the guitar is like all melancholy. It's almost like a Smith song in a way, where it's got sort of those vibes of some Smith stuff, but of course good, because Barry Johnson is not Morrissey.
I was gonna say, I simply do not get the vibes from the Smiths, but that's okay.
I think it's like more obvious in something like Bride of Usher on Of All Things I'll Soon Grow Tired. Like that one's more like an obvious Smiths homage than this, but like sort of that Johnny Marr guitar-esque work a little bit of like the specific kind of riff. I don't even listen to the Smiths, so I'm like the person who like has no expertise in being like, yeah, this is like the Smiths. It's like I've never listened to a Smiths album in full. I have no idea what the Smiths are really like.
The only time I listened to the Smiths album in full was the one time I was dating someone who was really into the Smiths, and that was it.
I'm so sorry.
And that should have been a red flag.
My girlfriend.
You're right. You were 100% right.
Like my high school girlfriend cheated on me with like a huge Smith stan, so it's like I've never been able to like. If it was gonna happen, it was gonna. I've never been able to get over that. Even though like I'm friends with him and her now again, but like even then, it's like still like I'm never. And I have good reason to not listen to the Smiths because Morrissey is
it's one
gestures
of those
widely.
When you have someone that problematic, it's like
Morrissey dies.
You almost have sympathy for the people that like got into the music a while ago and it has like such a hold on their life that they can't let go their fandom of this guy, but like the people who are getting into the Smiths post him becoming this dumb and stupid is just like, what are you doing?
But again, you know, in the army, sort of this sort of the darkest moment on the record, it really sets up the home run that is Catalina Fight Song, this 50-second burst of wild energy that has one of the most famous misheard lyrics ever. and
it should be hurting.
It's you know, of course the actual lyric is "Sunken City by the Ocean," but a lot of people were like, did he just say "suck a titty by the ocean"?
Absolutely.
It does sound like that.
Which is basically just Cake by the Ocean, so he was ahead of his time.
No.
By the way, I think this song has the single lyric on the album that fucks me up the most, which is "there's no way to keep in touch with certain people." Oof. Ow.
The one thing about this song that really stands out, like, I mean, he's so good at writing mundane things into very extraordinary feelings, but you always fell in love the way you're supposed to at the Target inside of the mall, fear of what you weren't exposed to. Like, yeah, Jesus Christ, you didn't have to say it so loud, though. Like, oh my God.
Keep it down. Also, car smells like hot Gatorade is one of the most viscerally evocative lyrics.
I do not want to be in that Honda Civic.
I
With
knew
the
I knew.
fabric seats and the broken
Oh god,
handles.
that just makes me think of the one bit in the episode 1 Joe Biden episode where it's like, you know, I knew a feller and you know he liked his Cokes hot. He always drank a hot Coke, and it's like, well, you know, you like yours cold, I like mine's hot, and that's just the way it is. That's just how it is sometimes. It's like, you know, sometimes you know, some people want a hot Gatorade. And then, like, you know, never really had a drug phase, so you think you're fucking miserable now. It's like, stop it, Barry, stop. Like, stop.
That shit hurted.
Stop. I mean, this entire record is just Barry saying things and me being like, stop saying that. Like,
But then the album is so compulsively listenable that you're like, stop, but also continue.
like, please, like, stop. It's like, it's like a
Please,
serial.
Barry Johnson, may I have some more coochie?
Oh my god. It's like running away from a very hot serial killer. You're like, oh no, don't catch me, no. Come on.
But also,
But yeah, Kelly Fight song. Holy fucking shit! This song is it's just ideal pop punk song of just like, all right, it's just heavy enough, it's just catchy enough. It's got a perfect misheard lyric. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, and I think one of my favorite parts of the Joyce Manor anime being like, you know, what's your favorite misheard lyric? And Barry's just like, I have a least favorite one. God.
Okay,
I lied.
real quick, Matty, you did say this was the best pop punk song. I will have to amend that because it is Your Graduation by Modern Baseball, but
Okay.
that's okay.
Fair point.
You fucking miss me.
Oh, by the way, I'll just drop this in now. I've brought this take up to Matty multiple times, but one of my most egregious Joyce Manor takes is that even though I recognize that it's not one of their best albums, my favorite Joyce Manor song is on Cody, and it's 18. It's my favorite Joyce Manor song. I love it so much.
Fucking good.
It's so good. I think it's like their most like traditionally catchy song. Like it's such a perfect like single, I think, but also is still a Joyce Manor song where there isn't really like a traditional chorus, and I just love the very end of it so much that I feel so old today. That whole thing is just perfect. All right, tangent over.
I lied about it being non-manipulative pop or like non-manipulative albums because this album's toxic as hell. It keeps hurting me, and I keep coming back to it.
Anyways, the last song on the record, and it's a great outro song, but it's one that like it's not much to write too much home about. Heated Swimming Pool. It is the ideal perfect outro to the record, you know. But like the standard they've set for themselves on outro is Constant Headache, which is like, holy shit.
Actually, my friend texted me today and was like, oh, you know, you have to discuss how they just ended on Catalina Fight song as like the best song to end on because fuck it, punk. And I was like, isn't the last song Heated Swimming Pool? And then we just kind of talked about it for a second about how it should have been Catalina Fight song. And like, Heated Swimming Pool is amazing. It's good. It's just like all the other songs on the album. It's good. But like, it should have been Catalina Fight song. Like, I don't know.
That is true. Although I will say, kind of the value of Heated Swimming Pool is I feel like sometimes with like an album where you've got like a big kind of climactic finish, sometimes that really makes you feel like, oh, it's like over and done. But like the great thing about Heated Swimming Pool is when I listen to it, I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. You know what I want to listen to again? Christmas Card. That's what I want to listen to right now. It kind of like is a palette resetter to get you ready to hit play on the album again.
Right, it's the
how
ginger on your plate.
I think about it. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And it's a good song. Although that first verse is like one of the darkest lines on the album. I wish you would have died in high school so you could be someone's idol. That's just like, it's kind of mean, but also like, oof.
It's toxic in all the right ways. It's like,
I think we've
so
identified.
now we're letting the white man tell us what toxic is good.
I mean, we are experts in it, so we.
Matt, you're too loud.
You're scaring away the hose.
But like I mean, it's sort of a mean lyric, but it's sort of one of those ways. I think Barry had a really great quote in the AMA about sort of like, you know, him saying like, you know, what's up, Barry? When writing, do you ever worry about how lyrics will be perceived, be it by fans, friends, family, etc.? And do you feel the need to edit or censor yourself? If so, do you have any tips on getting past that mindset? And then Barry said that sometimes my lyrics verge on being sexist, and that troubles me a little. Of course, the example he had was girls can be kind of controlling. I want to be controlled. I think it'd be all right. I think it's good to explore the uglier parts of yourself, but if something is just ugly and not an examination of the ugliness, it's probably not worth saying. And I think that is what makes Joyce Manor stand out among a sea of like emo bands, is that they are capable of some self-reflection, you know. They're capable of it. You can,
Yeah.
and I think that lyric of just like, you know, I wish you would have died in high school so you'd be somebody's idol. It's not one of those things, like, it's pretty clear that he's not saying it like seriously, like, I wish you died in high school. It's
Yeah.
It's more of like a, you know, like, if you died in high school, you would have been somebody's idol, but then you kind of turned out the way you did, and so it's like, oh, well, all right.
Weird backhanded compliment.
It honestly kind of just like explains where that person is in their point in life. Like, they're searching for something, and they've always have been searching for something. So it's like, well, I kind of wish you would have gotten that for yourself, just so you would not be where you're at right now.
Mm-hmm. But like, I mean, yeah, this is. I think it's a great out. I will stand by it being like a great outro to the record. I don't think Catalina Fight Song would have been the best outro. I think it would have been a great outro, but I think Heated Swimming Pool, like, you do there. It's like there's certain loose ends of the album that you need to wrap up, and I think Heated Swimming Pool does better than Catalina Fight Song. I think it would have been like dishonest if they just ended with like this like hard and heavy like punk song instead of more of a reflective, like, okay, like, this is more of an indie rock song, you know, like, hey, this is kind of the like, it would be dishonest to be like, this is how we end the album, like, this is where we're going as musicians. It's like, no, it's like this is more of an honest, open ending of like, hey, this is kind of where we're at as a band, like, where we're gonna continue to go from here on out.
Yeah, this whole album, it's kind of just like the worst summer of your life. So I think Heated Swimming Pool, this is why it's the perfect ending to this album. Like, Catalina Fight Song, it's a great ending. It's a great outro for a concert. If you're seeing Joyce Manor live and they play that last, you are dying in that pit, and you are happy with it. But like Heated Swimming Pool, just like Jackson said, is like, it just preps you to listen to the whole album again and again and again.
Mm-hmm. I hate that I know this bitch. You know what I mean? Like, I know.
One of the best quotes of the episode.
I know the girl in this song. I know that she has salt water instead of regular chlorine, and like, also, I know I've hung out with her and been like, oh, she could wreck my life. So.
Also, I love the lyric. I don't even have to wait for you to open up the cages because I see them in the ivy, and I can tell that they don't like me. I'm imagining that as like being at, like, this is a very, very Southern California memory, but like being at like a rich friend's like fancy house, and like their dogs are mean, and like just feeling like you like that
right.
You're just like on an alien planet. Like, it's very very evocative. But without like, he's so good at specifically evoking it with imagery, but without like saying the there that's there. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't say he doesn't say dogs. Like, he says, I don't even have to wait for you to open up their cages. Like, I don't know. It's good. He's a very unique lyricist. I think that's what we're discovering in.
Mm-hmm.
Cages are the terrible friends that she has, and she's opening up the gates to her backyard. Like, it's got a lot of different layers.
Maybe the cages were the friends we made along the way.
God, I mean, in some way, it's like sort of the antithesis to like falling in love again. Of like, you know, I think you're funny, I like your friends, you know. Then here it's like, oh, like, I can tell who you are by the people that you surround yourself with. Sort of the opposite ends of that spectrum of being like, yeah, all your friends are really cool. I like that, you know. Then the opposite of being like, oh, all your friends kind of like suck and are pretentious, you know.
It's like one of those things where it's like, I think I thought that I like you, but like, based on the people that like you're spending time with, it's more likely that I'm wrong about that than it is that like and kind of reaching that realization where it's like when you first meet someone and they're like maybe not your particular type in this way or that way, but you're like, oh, I like this person, I connect with this person, and you just sort of reach a certain point where you've got so far into their life and you're like, wait a second, this is not like a world I want to be in that this person is living in, and what does that say about them and how I've maybe misjudged them. And yeah, oof.
Yeah.
But as I say, it sort of is like more or less the perfect outro, because it is not only for the record, but also just sort of for Joyce Manor, where they would go next on Cody and $1 Million to Kill Me. And I guess we can touch on those records pretty briefly and sort of discuss how we feel about them, because for the most part, I think it's safe to say that they're like the bottom two records for everybody here, right?
I don't know. I was in high school when Cody came out, and then I turned 20 and I was like, yes. And then same with $1 Million to Kill Me. They're both good.
I haven't listened to Cody. I listened to it once, I should say. I listened to it once and I was like, I'll get back to this, and I just never came back around to it.
It's good.
I did listen to $1 Million to Kill Me a couple times, but I don't know, there's something about the earlier albums that feels just so reckless and intense, and the newer ones feel much more refined, and which is good because that's the natural progression of a band. And I don't want to be that person who's like, I'm 16 and I hate that they're growing up, but like there is a part of me that's like, I just want you to like scream at me so loudly and recklessly that I don't feel anything but also feel everything.
I think the real thing is here that none of us are at a nearly secure enough point in our life where we want Joyce Manor to calm down yet. I feel like as someone who likes $1 Million to Kill Me a lot, I feel like that's probably an album that as I get older will be a Joyce Manor album I listen to more than like the earlier stuff.
Right.
But like not, I'm still very much in Never Hungover Againville.
I mean, I think like, so I mean, I listened to the Discog entirely yesterday to sort of prep for this podcast, and I think Cody suffers. It's still a very good record, but yeah, it does suffer because like it does lack some of the pacing that makes those first records so good, because there's
it's just so drastic in like how it's changed from the, you know.
Yeah, it doesn't flow as well. Like of all things prove that again they can switch between genres and have it flow really, really smoothly. And Cody is them kind of trying to recreate that a little bit, but not being as successful, because like you have like Fake ID, 18, Angel, so these are all great songs. And then do you really
after
not
Last
want to
You
not
Heard
get better?
Me.
It's like then you get to, you know, do you really want to not get better, which is like a fine song, but like it kind of kills the flow of the record. And then of course you get to Last You Heard Me, it's like, okay, we're picking back up a little bit, and then you get into, you know, Make Me Dumb, you're like, okay, this is getting good again. And then sort of the last couple songs are like, they're fine, but it's like you know, it's just the pacing is a little off. And I think it's because somebody finally tried to teach Barry Johnson like how to write songs the way you should, and it's like, no, don't do that, stop doing that.
Go your own way.
Cody has like very high highs, as I've discussed. Like I really, really, really love 18, and it's probably my favorite Joyce Manor song, but it's not one I continue to revisit as an album, which especially stands out when you're Joyce Manor and you are so good at creating albums that work in their specific track list order and are so replayable. Like I think that it just stands out for that reason. And I think $1 Million to Kill Me, it very much feels like they've sort of completed the transformation. They're sort of maybe Cody is sort of like a bridge between this newer kind of more mature slightly iteration of Joyce Manor that's a little more indie rockish and a little less pop punk hardcore-ish. But I like $1 Million to Kill Me a lot, even though it's not an album I've revisited much since it came out. There's some good songs on there. I really like Frenzy Met Online is a great song.
Hey guys.
Hey guys.
Oh hi.
Oh, who is here? Is Micah here? What's going on? Why did everyone say hey guys?
Because we're all friends we met online.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, we just in real life.
I wasn't. Look, I was like,
We've
I
all
was,
met in
I was
real
getting
life
ready to like,
tonight.
No,
I was getting ready to
But,
talk
like-
about what I was gonna say, and I was like zoned out a little bit, getting ready to talk, and I missed that
Yeah.
completely.
It's not often that everyone who's on a pod episode has actually met in real life, so this is nice.
that is true. But I also think that like genuinely it is a really great song because like this is the line you and I remember the same online community. I know it sounds kind of lame when I say it out loud. It's just like yes. It's like it's this thing where it's like you're meeting people that share the interest with you and it's such a fulfilling thing in your life, but also when you say it out loud to anyone you sound like such a massive fucking dork. Like, oh, I have a podcast with friends I met on the internet and we talk about indie music and whatever, but like
It
it's
feels
truly
like it
that-
cycles back to Beach Community though, from the
Yeah.
self-titled. Just like that idea of like I mean Beach Community obviously like a lake community that you live in, whatever, but just I don't know. I don't have a complete thought. I just wanted to say that. Like it feels like it does cycle.
definitely, yeah.
I think
can
the
see
thing
that.
with Cody, I think like the thing with Cody into $1 Million to Kill Me, because $1 Million to Kill Me is them much more comfortable being like an indie rock band than a pop punk band. Where Cody was like, okay guys, like you're making this transition a little too fast. It's a little awkward in places of like going straight into indie rock. Or at least there's like stuff $1 Million to Kill Me that's like okay, it scratches the itch just enough. Of like there's some songs that go a little harder. There's some really good like Never Hungover Again esque guitar work. It's definitely some of Chase's best work since that record. Like Think I'm Still in Love with You fucking kicks ass. It's a fucking great song and an amazing music video too. Like in terms of videos that like represent like what dreams look like, it's one of the best out there. It's like wow, this is what dreams look and feel like sometimes. Like it really do be like that.
Sometimes.
And then like Big Lies is a really incredible song, and it scratches that toxic itch. Sometimes you want to explore the toxic parts of yourself, and it scratches that itch of like, okay, here's a safe way I can do that.
I'm Not the One is honestly so cute. Just I love it.
I think the side A of $1 Million to Kill Me especially is good, very good.
Very top heavy.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Cody and $1 Million to Kill Me both have that problem which is so crazy because I think Never Hungover Again and Self-Titled and Of All Things Like You're Tired really have a lot of like firepower saved toward the end, and they're well paced out in that way.
Oh god, I mean, yeah. I'm very excited for the next record.
I think we could get. I am very excited for their next record too. I think they will continue to grow and evolve and become more comfortable doing different kinds of stuff. But I mean, that's the thing is that like there's no with some bands like I made a mean joke about Remo Drive earlier. Like there are some bands where you really do want them to go back to. I say I just want you to be doing this because this other stuff you seem to be interested in, and I just like don't care about it or whatever. But the thing with I mean, in general with artists, you shouldn't pressure them to go back to their old stuff because you have the old stuff. But like especially with Never Hungover Again, it's like I don't even need them to try to make another album like that again because it's so perfect and at giving you exactly what you want out of it. That like it's just like why would you need more? You already have this album that is just like we're ready for you, and we can always go back to it. And so I'm very excited to see what other new stuff they try out, and I would love to see them go all the way back to like Of All Things I Was Super and Tired, some of that experimental stuff like you were talking about. I'd really like to see like the weird Joyce Manor album that they can make with like studio money.
Yeah, because for a long time, Barry did not really hold that record in high regard. He was just like, this is a record, like, it sounds like a confused record made by a confused guy, because I was a confused guy. But that's why that album, I think, is so good, because it does go all over the place. It's very clearly a person in some sort of crisis who is just like, fuck it, we're just going to throw everything at the table. Like, okay, we got this deal with Asian Man Records, which is one of my favorite labels. Fuck it, like, let's just throw this in there. Like, just mix some demos. We'll mix some studio stuff. Like, fuck it, we'll have a Smith song. Fuck it, we'll have a cover of the Bungles. And Video Killed the Radio Star. And it's amazing. And, like, I think they're only just now kind of reintroducing some of it into the live set. Like, Ice Skates was a song that it was on their last tour. They finally brought it back into the set list.
They did. And it was good.
And I think even in the AMA, I think it's it's become clear to Barry that like people really do hold that record in high regard. I think he's personally come around to it, and I think after like because like $1 Million to Kill Me, there's a really great Stereo Gum piece by Ian Cohen that's like a big like feature about the band. It's one of my favorite things in music journalism of the last couple of years. It's one that I go back to a lot for some reason, but it's a really great interview, and I think like the approach of that album is really interesting. Where it's like originally it was going to be a solo record, like he was like. One fact about Barry Johnson that we have somehow failed to mention is that Barry Johnson is a big ska nerd. He's a huge fucking ska nerd. He literally joined, I think either he or Chase or both of them joined the bowling team because they were really into ska music. Like, and I think like
that's great.
I think like Tony Molina like once like kind of I think Tony Molina was asked about Barry Johnson once, and it's like, yeah, he's just some fucking kid who's obsessed with ska. Like, he won't fucking stop talking to me about ska. I hate it. And the fact that $1 Million to Kill Me, like, it originally started because, like, Barry Johnson was like, I want to find out more about this, like, obscure ska single from, like, the early 2000s, and then, like, started emailing the guy who made the song, and, like, just started, like, going back and forth via email with songs, and, like, those formed, like, the first, like, 2 or 3 songs on the record before you kind of convened the band and then made it a Joyce Manor record. But so all this to say that if there's not a ska song on the new Joyce Manor album, I will fucking riot. Barry,
I want Joyce Manor to pick it up.
They need for fucking real. Like Barry,
horns.
You cannot.
Joyce Manor with horns. Oh my god.
That would be like unlocking. We'd be breaking a threshold that once we break that threshold, I'm not sure we can go back. Like
that's true transcendence right there.
Back in the jar.
Like y'all saw that Doomer meme where it was like hit like music stages of your life, and the last one was like transcendence. That one would be like the one below transcendence.
Wow.
Oh god, but I'm not joking though. Like you cannot be like ska cannot be such a part of your personal brand, and you never make a ska song. Like no, you can't get again. We've let you get away with this for 10 years now, Barry, but we're not no more. If there's not a ska song on the next record, that's it. I'm done being a Joyce Manor fan.
I would like to hear them try to, even as someone who does not really listen to ska. Like, I genuinely think I would be fascinated by them trying to do a full-on ska song with horns. I think it would be great.
Good. You want to hear another fucked up Barry Johnson fact?
Go ahead, Matty.
He thinks that Comfortable Clothes is the worst Joyce Manor song. That's fucked up.
Yeah.
Comfortable Clothes is a great song.
Good.
It's a great song. Like, dude, you have Barry, I love you, but you have terrible taste. Like this.
Yeah, the fact that he like just discounts his entire like early discography with Joyce Manor simply due to production and like because he was a stupid ass kid. Like you can't do that to yourself. You were a stupid kid, but you were good as hell at writing music and making me sad. So.
I also will say I think part of it probably just comes from like when you make art that comes out of such a like shitty and awful time in your life, you kind of just you don't really want to spend a lot of time like revisiting it because it just sort of puts you back. And I'm sure like once he got past that point in his life, he was like, I'm just gonna forget about those songs forever. But then the fact that people do connect with him because lots of us have been confused and
I feel like that's still. I mean, not to say that like, I don't think Barry hates his old stuff that much. I don't think. I think there's some of it he does not like. I obviously like of all things, I'll soon grow tired. But I mean, like I said, he said that his favorite Joyce Manor song is still like "Constant Headache." That's still like his favorite song he's ever written. You know, I do think it's unfair to cast Barry as like someone who like hates his old stuff. I think there's some of his older stuff that he hates or he has like more critical opinions of. But like. I think he's still like I think he's like come around to like $1 Million to Kill Me being like I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of that record. Like he's already like not really into that record anymore. But like like I said, I'm very intrigued to see where they go because I think he definitely has said that he wanted to take a more of all things approach to the record of just like hapdash, let's just explore a bunch of genres, like let's just fuck it, we ball. And I think now with COVID-19, I think like that's pretty much the only approach you can make with a record at this point is just like complete fucking chaos, you know?
Honestly, yeah. Every record just has to be like going full tilt Jesus levels of maximalism. We don't have much time left on this world. We have to be insane.
Exactly. But I think that really wraps it up. I think we have exhausted ourselves of Joyce Manor discussion.
100%.
Yeah.
But final points. I think like one that we talked a lot about Barry Johnson, but like Never Hunger Again it's only as good as the rest of it's only as good as
it's
the
a full
band
band
members.
effort.
It is a full band effort. It's like Matt Ebert, his bass playing is incredible. Chase Knob is like doing some really incredible guitar work. It's very clear. Like, oh yeah, like he definitely got better at guitar compared to the last record, you know.
And then Kurt on the drums, like, ugh.
Oh yeah, the fact that
All you can say.
the fact that like for the last 3 albums they've had a different drummer per album. Like Never Hungover Again's like okay, like from like Choice, the self-titled
That's
to
DIY, baby.
they had Chase, and then they were assholes, and they had to fire. I think they never really fully explain what happened, but I think they're just like, yeah, we're just assholes to be in a band with. So we've had 3 drummers the last couple like these last 3 records.
That's really funny though.
Which is
They can
Not
be
a bad
that like.
turnover.
It's like that. I like that they admit it. They don't. There's not a lot of mystery about why they get kicked out. It's just like, yeah, we're assholes.
So few assholes in the world that understand they're assholes, and so it's just real nice that they can be like, yeah, we're dicks sometimes. Like it kind of reminds me of the quotes from Meet Me in the Bathroom where people are like, James Murphy is a cunt. Even his best friends would say that about him.
Aw. Yeah.
James Murphy sucks, but it's like, well, he did write.
He wrote All My Friends.
He wrote All My Friends. He wrote Losing My Edge. He gets a free pass.
Oh, also, the other thing that the drummer thing reminded me of is the fact that The Armed, which is the secret mega post-hardcore collective with anonymous members, they're two albums they've released. Both of them have featured like a well-known drummer. Like I think the drummer from Converge was the drummer for their last record, but both of the drummers that drummed for their albums were tricked into doing so. Like they showed up for one thing and they were like lied about it, and like they're like, but can you do this? Like it's really, as we're recommending old pieces of music journalism, I can never tell people enough times to read the noisy cover story on The Armed, in which someone went to their compound in Detroit to go meet this band that intentionally tries to like mislead people about them and release fake press photos of people that aren't in the band. And there's like 3 different dudes who might be named Dan in the band, and one guy who wears a ghillie suit all the time. Like it's one of the funniest pieces
like
of
fucked
music.
up people mover.
No, it's one of the most bizarre pieces of journalism of any kind I've read, and they are an awesome band. And Only Love is one of the best albums of the 2010s for crazy guitar music that sounds like a star being like melted in half or something. Like it's just, that album is completely fucking nuts. On Jupiter is one of the craziest album closers of this decade.
It's good stuff, folks. It's good stuff.
Before I go, I just want to say that I want to be at the 36th annual Riot Fest, just watching Joyce Manor play songs about how much they hate their lives as teenagers, just like I did with Descendants at the 15th annual.
Absolutely. I'm really, really looking forward to how Barry Johnson ascends into his like 30s and 40s. I think it's going to be spectacular.
I think
It's going to be wonderful.
He's definitely going to like have that Mark Kozlik realization and just start writing. He's going to go from like these 2-minute songs to writing like 10-minute songs just about his daily routine.
I would love that a lot.
Because they are big Red House Painters fans. At least Barry is a big Red House Painters fan. So
I mean, like, as any human being with a heart should be.
Exactly. But again, that will wrap it up. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this episode of Retrospect. I think this will just end up being a Retrospect episode.
Because this is essentially the 11 of our top 10. Because the one rule of the Indieheads podcast is Matty gets to make the rules, and Never Hungover Again just barely did not make our top 10.
Look,
so
we already
scraped by.
Look, there
was
giving
it a special honorary condition.
Look,
honorary mention.
There was already a Benji podcast, and I was like, well, we can do 10 of these. So I'm like, all right, we're gonna because 11 is close. You know, this one goes to 11. You know, like
it does go to 11.
This one goes to 11. So that's how we're doing it.
We're not going to, but we could do Benji Cast too. You know, I could do Benji. Oh, I mean,
Cast. Here's the thing. You could, but should you?
Don't let me.
Okay. But exactly. So that'll wrap it up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast. We will have more of these decade casts probably sporadically throughout the year. I'm not going to say throughout the next like 2 months. Like, no, it's
We're gonna be recording a lot of them in the next couple of weeks, but we will space them out more than we're recording them probably.
We're stalking.
we're
Because
stuck.
we're all up here in self-quarantine, and the only way we can cope with it is by making content.
Exactly, baby. That's how it is.
Yeah, like in 5 months, people are going to see the most amazing albums they've ever heard because
Or
your
just
fave got holed up.
A lot of bad podcasts.
Oh,
Yes.
More likely what it is. From us, mainly.
Yes. But hopefully you enjoy this podcast. Of course, I am your
Yay.
host, Matty, Corinne, Jackson, Kasia, and we will see you all the next time. Of course, follow us on Twitter at IndieheadsPod. Subscribe to us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, we're available. Yeah, that's it. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.